Every time Britt would suggest doing the Wrath of Khan for the podcast, I would always respond with the meme, Khan! And so when we finally agreed to it, it was about a day before I was going to watch the movie. I was like, uh-oh, this is the one where Spock dies. Because up till then, I had just thought sort of the humorous aspect of it, not the fact, not realizing that Kirk was about to lose his best friend. So this conversation, which spans the next 2 episodes, is dedicated to my friend Jeremy Ross. He received his ultimate healing and entered glory on May 30th of this year. And this was the first episode I recorded after his death. So there are some raw moments in it, mostly in part 2, where we start actually talking about the death of Spock. But as we'll discuss in this episode, it's really about how to age well, how to face death well, and what to do when you're in a no-win situation. Jeremy was in a no-win situation. He either died and left his wife and daughters behind, or he suffered every day with the complications of cancer and the treatments and all that stuff. But he lived with strength. He lived with love and grace. And I'm thankful for every day, every minute that we got to spend together. One of the interesting tidbits of Jeremy is that unlike Kirk, he never took the promotion. Jeremy was offered a promotion to, move away from what he did best, which was love on people, and a more leadership management sort of thing. And he said no. He wanted to stay where he was because that's where he had the greatest impact. Just like Kirk's greatest impact was as the captain of a starship, Jeremy's greatest impact was caring for and ministering those who came into contact with him. I knew him for over 30 years, and he stuck with me through a lot of dark moments in my life. And there's no real words that can convey what a person like that means to you. It feels like I have a cold spot where his presence used to be. And I know that my experience of this and grief is really just a shadow of what his wife and daughters feel every day. And so I'm asking for your help. His wife, Amanda, now continues to work for Pioneers. It's up to her to raise the support that she needs. So before you even start listening to the podcast, even if you already support it, I'd say cancel your support of the podcast. Go to pioneers.org. There's a QR code on the screen if you're watching. Click the donate button and in comments put Amanda Ross and give that support to her and their daughters, Kayla and Bella and Jana and Ellie. One of the things I miss most about Jeremy is how we would laugh so hard together. And I can't imagine his wife and daughters going through that, especially during this holiday season. So please, I hope that this episode is our most listened to. I hope that everybody who listens to it goes to support Amanda and their daughters. And so I would ask everyone to share it to someone who might be interested. Share it to someone who's going through their own no-win situation. Share it with someone who's lost somebody close to them. And hopefully that as I process my grief in this episode, it can help them process theirs as well.
The movies and stories we love are gateways to see ourselves and God in new ways.
Every great story borrows its power from a larger story, the story that's written on our hearts and woven into the fabric of our very being.
Hello and welcome to the Men at the Movies podcast. I got to tell you, Brett, I still love our music.
It's a cool music, man. You did a good job picking. And you picked that right away. That was like one of the.
Yeah,
I think you had that at the beginning, the first episode.
Yeah. That was. I was like, I got to have a good intro. And honestly, it's like my walk-up music now. We do our prayer, and then I was like, I play this, and this is what gets my game face on. This is what gets me ready to talk. But it's our voices on there saying this is what we're about.
Yeah.
So before we get into talking about the Wrath of Khan, I did want to put out something new that we're doing. So we started a newsletter, And so when every new episode drops, you'll get information. You'll get what I'm really excited about is a PDF study guide for each movie that we do. So each episode, it'll be a little context of the film, and then some questions. Like if you're leading a small group, you've got questions that you can deal with, and then some actual concrete activities to actually practice. Like I remember with Lawrence of Arabia, it talked about embracing discomfort, and it said, take a 2-minute shower, cold shower. Take a 2-minute cold shower and sort of see how that feels and how your body and your mind and your spirit reacts to choosing discomfort. So you can get all that. Go to minutethemovies.com/subscribe. And when a new episode drops, you'll get the email and you'll get that PDF guide included with that. So that's something I'm really excited about starting up, and just wanted to pitch that right at the beginning as we get into what's probably pretty close to our 5th birthday. By the time this airs, we're approaching our 5th anniversary, Britt. Which I think Wrath of Khan probably is a good fit, because
it would be a good fit.
You were texting me, you're like, why haven't we done this one sooner?
It's one of the ones that keeps coming up, or has kept coming up as we talk over the years. And
every time you would bring it up, I would send you this link. So when we were talking before the show, you talked about just your love of Star Trek and all that. So go into all that stuff of why you're so excited to do this episode.
So I loved Star Trek as a kid. I grew up in the 70s. That's how old I am. and the 60s, the original series would come on late at night, and I would beg my parents to stay up late enough to watch Star Trek. And I begged and begged and begged. And my parents did the most intelligent thing. They started to let me do it. And I would make it through maybe space, the final frontier. Like I would maybe make it that long before I was asleep on the couch.
I figured you'd make it to the first red shirt dying.
Yeah, or whatever. I wouldn't make it 5 or 10 minutes, So then I decided for myself, I'm just going to bed. I can't do this. I can't, I was so frustrated with myself because I just couldn't keep my eyes open. But I just loved Star Trek. My mom loved Star Trek. We saw the movie, the first movie in the theater, and I loved it, even though looking back on it, it's an awful movie. It's so slow. But at the time, I loved it.
Well, there's a lot of things we loved as kids that we look back now and
sure, right.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
We should not have watched The Dukes of Hazzard.
And then this movie came out, and it really saved Star Trek. What I put in the text was, this movie saved Star Trek, is because Star Trek was floundering. There were conventions, and there was a fan base, but Star Trek realized something that Marvel has forgotten. Marvel realized for a while. Star Wars has forgotten. Mandalorian and a couple other shows maybe have figured it out. But when you have such a fan base, how do you bring them into the story, but while also giving new audiences something to appreciate, right? And that is an extremely difficult thing to do. And this movie does it. Star Trek 2 does it. The first Star Trek was trying to be basically an episode of Star Trek from the 60s, and they just made a movie out of it. And that's why media, audiences, Star Wars had come out. There's, right? I mean, stuff had changed, and the culture had changed. And but because of Star Trek 2 and just the amazing job that they did with this movie, you had money galore for sequels, even the worst sequel of all time, Star Trek 5, and The Final Frontier. But then you had Star Trek The Next Generation, which brought in a whole other
I
generation.
think Caddyshack 3 or Caddyshack, I think Caddyshack 2 and Rocky 5 have something to say about the worst sequel.
Has something to say about that, the worst. Well, you could probably also put Jaws 3 in there. And 3 or 4 of the Friday the 13th movies. But all that to say is this movie saved, and the reason why they saved it is because what they decided to do was say, look, the fans who are going to go see this movie no matter what are middle-aged people at this point. So let's tell their story. They've been through some stuff. They've come to a place in their life where maybe they feel disconnected from their friends. Maybe they feel a certain sort of way about life, that they're stuck, that they had adventures when they were young, but they don't really have adventures anymore. And let's call to those people. Let's say something to those fans. But they made it universal enough that it spoke to a whole new generation of fans too. And I really think they did a powerful thing. Huh?
Star Trek,
and
the next generation.
And a whole new series. And unfortunately, what they had to do with this movie, because I listened to, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I listened to a great audiobook. Well, it was a book, but William Shatner read it. It was a book William Shatner wrote about his experience with Star Trek. So he goes into a lot of the movies. He goes into the TV show and the movies, and it just tells a whole bunch of cool stories. And after the first Star Trek, which Gene Roddenberry, the creator, had a lot to do with, they didn't really listen to him anymore. They started making their own movies and taking it in their own direction because, Roddenberry kept wanting to do really weird, symbolic, futuristic, way mystical sort of stuff. And they really
let's put midichlorians in. Oh, wait, different series.
Midichlorians, right. But what they did instead was they really focused on the characters. Yeah. What makes these characters tick? Who are these people? And let's put them in adventures that challenges them and makes them sacrifice things and makes them do things that mean something. Because again, that's one of the problems with the first movie. Like I said, it was just an episode. That could have been a 45-minute episode forgotten next year. Right? But when you kill Spock, that deserves a movie.
Right.
Like when you bring him back from the dead, that deserves a movie, right? Like, yeah. And there's so many biblical themes and all this. Like, dude, I don't know if you probably recognize it, but at the end, and they're showing Genesis and they're playing Amazing Grace.
Yes. When they shoot out Spock.
I mean, there's so many biblical references through this whole thing. And we'll get to a lot of those, but really it's about the characters and it's about the themes and the struggles that they're facing as middle-aged people, and they're mostly men. And what does it mean to have an adventure when you've lived some life, when you've kind of gone through some stuff, and you have to have a more mature vision of your life, of what life is really about, and how do you incorporate that and embrace that and bring that into the next adventures that you're called to. Because just because you're old doesn't mean you're not called to an adventure. It just might mean God wants you, the you are now, to do it. Right. He's not asking you to be 22 anymore, right? He's like, no, I want you. I'm calling you to this thing and bringing what you are and all the things that you've learned. And so I just think there's so many cool things about this movie. There's a couple plot holes we might get to, but it's good.
No, we're going to just skim right over the plot holes today. We're just going to focus on the good, just gloss over the bad.
Well, it's kind of a geeky plot hole. Like you wouldn't know it's a plot hole unless you were like a Star Trek fan, right? Anyway.
Well, I thought that what you were pointing out is this idea that a movie with a Star Trek name on it is going to pull an audience. But then I was like, why? And it's not for the CGI. It's not for the effects. It's not for any of that. It's because why do we watch any show? It's because we grow to love the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cheers, the Cheers finale being one of the,
oh my gosh,
back in the day, pop culture event.
Yeah.
It's because
or
you
MASH.
loved the MASH. Friends.
Yes.
We watched Ted Lasso, and I was like, when the series was over, when the third season was over, I got this experience of I'm going to miss spending time with those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, where so many of these big tentpole IP sources fail is because they forget that.
I think it's true.
So, our target demo is probably in the 30 to 60-year-old range, mostly men. So talking about something like how to age well and what it looks like, because we sort of have two comparisons in this movie. You've got Khan and Kirk, who are both aging, but they're aging differently. But there's something that sets apart Kirk from Khan. Khan, as he says when he gets marooned, that during that time, this happened, my wife died. And it's turned him into somebody. Kirk, on the other hand, hasn't experienced death. He's cheated it, as he says at the end, but he hasn't faced it. And so part of our maturation, part of our growth and initiation, it's going to include death. But the other thing that Kirk has that Khan doesn't is friends. Friends who help see him who he is, friends who are not afraid to tell him the truth.
Right. Well, and again, spoiler alert.
It's a 43-year-old movie.
Right. No, there's a connection between facing death and aging well. Because here's the thing, because there's a whole other theme in it, but they're interconnected. How do you face a no-win situation? How do you face a no-win situation? Because here's the truth. Everyone's going to die.
What?
It's a no-win situation. The question is, what kind of person are you going to be in the middle of it? What does that do to you and your character, knowing, because when you're 25, you think you're invincible.
Right.
Death is out there.
You can run as fast as you want. It won't hurt.
Death is so far removed from you.
Yeah.
And even if you do experience death, it doesn't really affect you like it does when you're 40 and you're like, that's 30 years away. Right? Like that's not that far from me. Now, how am I going to respond to that? Am I going to respond to it with engagement and adventure, but differently than I did when I was 20? Because now I can see people for who they are. They see me for who I am. I've been through some stuff. And what's unfortunate is our modern culture still doesn't value that as much as they do. I mean, it's just as a teacher or former teacher myself, and my wife is a teacher, I saw this video from someone in England, and they were talking about how they're pushing older teachers out. And here's why. Because they have to pay them more. These are experienced teachers, right? I don't know if this happens in nursing, but they're experienced teachers. They know how to do stuff, and they're masters at their craft. But it's cheaper to hire the 25-year-old, and you can work them harder.
Right.
But they don't know what they're doing. But they get burnt out, and so this is what we're dealing with in our culture with some of these corporate mentalities, even in education and nursing, maybe, I don't know, but all of these things, it's like not valuing the leadership of someone who's a little older, realizing they're bringing something to the table here that has value. And so, but that really speaks to the audience of Star Trek in 1982.
Right.
That really speaks to them. It really speaks to them of, you're not an antique. You're not just an old, it wasn't just the best of times, the worst of times. There's still more to come. There's still more awesomeness in your life to come. And I think it's an important message. And so, but it's connected with that. Don't get hopeless about the no-win situation. You have agency. You have something you can do. And Spock teaches us the most logical, loving thing to do in a no-win situation.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we will get to that. So we're talking about that. We're talking about facing death. We're talking about aging well. We're talking about the importance of friends. All that and more, right? Because who knows where else we're going to hit. But I want to start off. So earlier, Sarah and I did the Star Trek, the new one with Chris Pine, and the sort of the new, showing the beginnings of James T. Kirk, which I thought was really interesting because they talked about this same test, the no-win situation that he cheated on. Right? Basically, he rewrote the program was how he beat it. But as you were saying, now you've got Captain Spock, you've got Admiral Kirk. They're training, they have a ship, they have an Enterprise full of trainees, and they're going through the Kobayashi maneuver. Is that how you say it?
Kobayashi Maru.
They're going through the Kobayashi Maru, which is a no-win situation.
Right.
Obviously, they don't win. So the trainee, Mr. Savick, at the end, and played by Kirstie Alley, she says she feels it's an unfair assessment of her leadership. As we all feel, right? When we're faced with a no-win situation and we don't win, whatever way that we choose, we feel is unfair because it feels impossible. And I think as we were talking about, the older we get, the more times you get into this, you experience these no-win situations, whether it's an adult child who's homeless out in Arizona, or a daughter who's pregnant, or a son who's on drugs, or a friend who dies. There's all these, we face no-win situations because there's no positive. You know, as my friend Jeremy passed earlier this year, or as the truth is, he received his ultimate healing. He's sick with cancer. He's miserable, or he's going to die. Like that's his no-win situation, right? He was facing a day where he would just be out of it. He's pain, miserable, puking, awful, suffering, or he dies and leaves his family behind. I mean, I can't think of a more no-win situation than that.
Right.
And as we age, we experience more of these types of things. And so she has to speak candidly to Admiral Kirk. And here's what she has to say.
Well, Mr. Savick, are you going to stay with the sinking ship?
Permission to speak candidly, sir.
Granted.
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities.
And why not?
Because there was no way to win.
A no-win situation is a possibility every commander may face. Has that never occurred to you?
No, sir. It has not.
How we deal with death is at least as important as how we deal with life, wouldn't you say?
As I indicated, Admiral, that thought had not occurred to me.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
As you were saying, when you're young, when you're in your 20s, now even somewhat in your 30s, that thought of a no-win situation never crosses your mind. Because look at all the movies that look at all the superhero movies. If they just try hard enough or do enough, they can reverse the situation that they don't want to happen. Right? That's what they teach.
Yeah.
Is if
Superman just has to fly around the earth enough times to make it go backwards.
Right. But how do we face those no-win situations how we deal with death is as important as how we deal with life.
Well, and here's some wisdom from Ecclesiastes, from Solomon. It's better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of feasting, because in a house of mourning, the living take note. The days are evil. How am I going to redeem the days that I have left? I don't. What was it, James? I'm not promised tomorrow.
Our lives are but a vapor.
My life, but that doesn't mean you don't have value. That doesn't mean you don't have something to give. It just means there's an urgency to what you have to give. Just give it. Just do it. You this is your chance. Today is your shot. Is your chance. Or you can take. Or you can get all you can before you die. Right? That's Paul's other option, right? Eat, drink, be merry, for tomorrow let's just go to the house of feasting. But that's it. See, that's the difference between partying in the Old Testament and in the Bible and the way people party. Most of the times when people go to parties, they're trying to forget something.
Yes.
But in the Bible, you party to remember something. God is good. He has taken care of us. He will redeem us, right? There's all this truth. You're partying your butts off because there's eternal truth. You're taking note of reality. And so you can face with happiness and joy and feel young again, as, spoiler alert, Kirk does at the end. But if it's only your past catching up with you, if it's only, I don't have much time left. Oh, I've failed so many times. Oh, I've blah, 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 blah. You just feel old.
Yeah.
You just feel old. And so this movie says, let's take note of how to live our life in a way that's meaningful, that has meaning. And so, he has a little conversation with her there. But then what happens next? Because he has to learn it too.
Right.
Kirk actually has to learn the same thing he's trying to teach her. Because what we get in the next couple scenes are his two best friends in life celebrating his birthday by giving him antiques.
Right. Well, hang on.
Giving him really old stuff.
Because you talked about partying to remember in the Old Testament. Like they had these feasts to remember all the things that God did for them. Like even the big one, the Passover, right? It was to remember their rescue from Egypt.
Right.
And see if I can get through this without tearing up. We don't party just to look back.
No.
We party to look ahead to the feast, to the ultimate party where there is no pain, there is no death. Because I kind of disagree with Paul. Death still stings. I miss my friend. But that idea, like when we take communion, do this in remembrance. But what else did he say? I will not drink this cup until I drink it with you in the kingdom.
Yeah.
So we party to
coming
look back
for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, come quickly, Lord Jesus.
Well, he says it there when he says, this is my body, this is my blood. In the same conversation, he's like, and I'm coming back for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to prepare a house, a place for you, really. Not a house, not a mansion. That's a bad translation. But that's what the husband would do. The bridegroom would do. He'd go to his father's house, build an addition, and then come back for his bride. And so this is marriage language. I'm coming back for you.
Yeah.
So yes,
in the Jewish culture back then, that's what would happen.
Yes. We are taking communion to remember, because God's eternal. His work is in the past, present, and future. And so yes, so the feasts in the Old Testament were also looking forward. you have saved us, you'll save us again. You've provided, you'll provide again.
Yeah.
And Nehemiah gets into that. What is it, Nehemiah 8? Because I just read it. I usually don't know where the chapter is, but I think it's Nehemiah 8, where they've rebuilt the temple. They're rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem after so much destruction and exile and all this sadness. And he has them celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, which is a type of marriage party, right?
Yeah.
Has a lot of symbolism, marriage symbolism. And people are weeping because of what they've lost. And he says, this is not the time to mourn. That's where he says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. In other words, there is a joy ahead of you. There's more to come.
Yeah.
And so saying all that is to say, but where Kirk is at this moment is these are the symbols they're giving, right? He's growing old, right? He has to use glasses. He's got whiskey that takes a long time to ferment or whatever, right? It takes a long time, and it's really strong, but it takes a long time. And Spock gives him a book, which is The Tale of Two Cities from Dickens, which the opening line is, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And he's like, what are you trying to say to me, Spock? And he's like, I don't know.
Nothing
I just got
consciously, but
was the 60s Star Trek the best of times? Was it really? Is that all he's got? And so then, I know you got but the conversation with Bones, I think, is really revealing. So I don't know if you want to go there. I don't know if you have anything to say before that, but.
Well, I do. I pulled up something somebody sent me the other day, about the Hebrew word for faithfulness is emeth, which is spelled aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The Hebrew letter M, which is the 14th and their middle letter, and tav, which is the last letter. So as you were saying, the God of eternity, past, present, and future, it talks about the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Right. And it's even in the word faithfulness is the fact that he did it yesterday, he will do it today, and he will do it again tomorrow. We don't know what it is. One of my favorite stories is about George Mueller, who all his life wanted to be a missionary. And he's in Britain. What he's known for is basically starting the orphanages for all the sort of abandoned children, orphan children in England.
Yep.
And then the age of 70, he finally gets the opportunity or the invitation, you would say, because George Mueller's the other cool thing about him is he never asked anyone for money. He would just pray about it. And he's like, if I need it, God will provide it. And so he would never ask for money. He would just pray about it. At the age of 70, he got the opportunity to go on the mission field. And he did foreign missions for 20 more years. Like he had a whole career after he turned 70. And so that idea, like, how do we age well? It's like, man, that's how I want to age is, we're both in our 50s now. Like we feel like our time is short, and that can lead to a pressure. And how do we do that? How do we age well? And Kirk is struggling. He's the admiral. He's over all this. He has a home like on Earth. And so Bones here in this scene shows up to celebrate his birthday. He brings him the Romulan ale, which is illegal, but he gets it anyway because, Bones. And so he gives him a second gift. As Bones is pouring the whiskey or the ale, he gives him a second gift to open.
Now, you open this one.
I'm almost afraid to. What is it? Klingon aphrodisiacs?
No.
Bones. This is charming.
For most patients your age, I usually recommend Retinox 5.
I'm allergic to retinite.
Exactly. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy birthday.
I don't know what to say.
Well, you could say thank you.
Thank you.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell's the matter with you? Other people have birthdays. Why are we treating yours like a funeral?
Bones, I don't want to be lectured.
What the hell do you want? This is not about age. And you know it. It's about you flying a goddamn computer console when you want to be out there hopping galaxies.
Spare me your notions of poetry, please. We all have our assigned duties.
Paul, you're hiding. Hiding behind rules and regulations.
Who am I hiding from?
From yourself, Admiral.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
Jim, I'm your doctor, and I'm your friend. Get back your command. Get it back before you turn into part of this collection. Before you really do grow old.
Here's what life is going to try to do in our day and age. And it was true in 1982. When you get older, they try to give you more responsibility. They make you more a part of the system. And that's what they want to do to you. I don't know how it works I'm sure it works similarly in nursing. But here's how it works in education. If you are an amazing teacher, you should probably stay a teacher. But here's what they want to do with you. If you're an amazing teacher, here's how they reward you, is they make you an administrator. And then you forget what it was like to really be in the trenches as a teacher. Now, I was talking with a friend recently, and he's a counselor at a private Christian school. And he talked about in his administration, all of the administrators at his school have to teach at least one class. Mm. And that's to remind them what it was like to be a classroom teacher. And I loved that. I was like, that's awesome. But here's the thing. I've told people for years, I'll probably never be an administrator. That's not my gift.
Right.
That's not what I'm good at. I mean, I'm not in the classroom anymore. That's not where God has me. But when I was teaching, that's what I would tell people. And my wife feels the same way. My wife is an amazing classroom teacher. And a lot of her friends have been promoted up into administrators, and some of them are great administrators. We need great administrators in the world. But sometimes it's not your gift, but it becomes part of the normal climb the ladder sort of idea. And let me just encourage everybody, don't take the bait. Mm. Don't take it. Oh, it's more money. It's more security. It's more this. But that's how you become just another antique on the wall. That's how you just live out your days. That's not how you live your purpose. And both of his friends at different times in the movie call him back to his purpose. And that's the friend we need.
Yes.
Those are the kind of friends we need. The kind of friends that say, what the heck are you doing, man? This isn't you. Don't take that job. Oh, but it's good money and it's this, and it's like, it will kill you.
Yeah.
Not your body. It will kill your soul. And they're not saying it because the job is evil. They're saying it because they know your soul.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that realizing that there probably are some men listening to this who don't have friends like that. And I'm really sorry about that. And that feels very lonely. Mm. But I'm telling you, I don't know how you can find friends like that, but it's going to take time and inconvenience to do it. And that's a whole other adventure maybe you need to start on. But my point is, those are the kind of people we need in our life. This isn't you. What are you doing? This isn't the path you were meant to be on. And we need wives who are like this. We need our wives to be like this. It's a rare woman that'll tell you, don't take the secure job with more money.
Right.
Because that'll kill you. That's not who you are. And it's not about doing what makes you happy. It's doing what you were created to do. That's what it's about. And that takes a lot of self-reflection, and that takes going through death. That takes facing death. And facing it with, okay, how am I going to live a no-win situation? Am I just going to hide, be secure, or am I going to move forward?
Yeah. One of the things I really appreciated about that scene was when Kirk was willing to sit and listen, they both faced the fire. And there's actually some research out there that if you get guys around a fire, they open up more. Like that's why, living in the South, it makes a couple months a year really hard to make a fire when it's, 90 plus degrees and 90% humidity. But I mean, there's a reason they call it a candlelight dinner. There's something around the fire, I think, that just connects us, that melts our defenses, whatever you want to say. But what is it? Bones gives him a pair of reading glasses because he knows his friend's weaknesses. You're allergic to the procedure that everybody else goes through. You're also struggling to read. Your arms aren't long enough now for you to read these things. So I'm giving you this book, I'm giving you these glasses so you can read the book Spock gave you. It's like they tag teamed for his birthday presents.
And they didn't even know they tag team. I mean, it doesn't say
they don't
that
need to, right? That's what good friends do.
But from your friends, you get two pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Just and we'll talk about this, two lenses of the glasses.
Two lenses of the same pair of glasses, but he gets the book from one and the glasses from the other. And then, of course, at some point in the movie, like not soon after this, they literally show him leading up to the Enterprise with the glasses reading the book.
Yeah.
Like he puts it together.
Yeah.
His friends, right?
Well, and our friends shape how we see the world. I remember hearing something, I don't remember the source now, but basically the idea is we become the average of the five people we spend the most time with. And as you mentioned, there are guys who are listening, and there's women who might be listening who are like, oh, I crave that friendship. I crave that connection with somebody. And I'm going to steal back from our Band of Brothers series where you've got the soldiers landing in Germany or in France behind enemy lines. They're alone, but what gets them, how they find each other is not, hey, I need a friend. They're not looking for each other. They say, hey, our mission is here. I'm going to head to where I have a mission. And along the way, people come alongside you.
That's right.
And so sort of that, how do I start if I don't have that connection? It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to look like how you want it to. But that's how they became friends in the beginning, is they went on a mission together.
Exactly.
And it's through the mission, through sharing life, through coffee once a week, through a phone call once a month, through a fire if you want. There's a lot of different ways, but you start by moving in a direction. C.S. Lewis says, friends walk side by side towards something. It could be checkers. It could be football. I mean, fantasy football is a great place to start connections. I do a fantasy football league with my family because that's one of the ways we stay connected.
Mm.
So what mission can you move towards? And that's an adventure in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't, it's not a friend for a friend's sake. It's a partner because you're like, you need a wingman on the mission that you're going on. So we are going to jump ahead. They take the Enterprise out for a training run. They're just supposed to be, floating in space for like 3 weeks with these bunch of trainees as they see how they do. But as happens in these movies, things go awry. They get a distress call. They're the only ship in the quadrant. But technically, Admiral Kirk is along for the ride. He's an observer. Captain Spock is the one who's in charge of the ship. So as Admiral Kirk tells Spock, here's the situation, they have this no, you take it conversation that reveals, again, we sort of seen Bones' side of the lens. We're going to see Spock's side of the glasses here in this conversation.
We're the only ship in the quadrant. Spock, these cadets of yours, how good are they? How will they respond under real pressure?
As with all living things, each according to his gifts. Of course, the ship is yours.
No, that won't be necessary. Just get me to regular one.
As a teacher, on a training mission, I am content to command the Enterprise. If we are to go on actual duty, it is clear that the senior officer on board must assume command.
It may be nothing. Garbled communications. You take the ship.
Jim, you proceed from a false assumption. I am a Vulcan. I have no ego to bruise.
You're about to remind me that logic alone dictates your action?
I would not remind you of that which you know so well. If I may be so bold, it was a mistake for you to accept promotion. Commanding a starship is your first best destiny. Anything else is a waste of material.
I would not presume to debate you.
That is wise. In any case, were I to invoke logic, logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Or the one.
You are my superior officer. You are also my friend. I have been and always shall be yours.
We haven't really gotten into Khan as much yet, but this movie sets up a few important contrasts. You talked about a little bit where Khan is supposed to be this superior person. He was genetically engineered to become this superior person. And by the way,
He's a GMO.
Yeah. And this happened centuries before. And, there was a whole episode in the original Star Trek series with him called Space Seed. And Nicholas Meyer, the director, brings that in. He's like, man, we got to bring this guy back. Ricardo Montalban is a huge name. He's on Fantasy Island. And we can really make money off of this. But of course they put important themes in. It's not a gimmick. Like they're putting important themes in here where Khan is prideful. Khan is intelligent, but he's not logical. Khan doesn't make logical decisions. He's fueled by rage. He's fueled by revenge. He's fueled by evil, and evil isn't logical. Evil doesn't make logical decisions. Whereas Spock has no ego. He's got the opposite of pride, and Spock is more concerned with his friend's purpose than his own position.
Mm.
Man, I wish I was like that. And in my best moments I am. But I wish that was just, you get over yourself, be humble enough, because it doesn't make sense. It's not logical to boost your own ego or to try to. He has no, he's not trying to climb the corporate ladder. That's not what Spock's trying to do. He's trying to do what's best for the situation and sacrifice his own position for the good of everyone. You're the best choice for this. That this is how it's supposed to work. And man, that sort of humility and logic, but also seeking the best for everyone, is such a Christ-like element to it.
Mm.
And so that's kind of who Spock is in the whole movie. And of course, we know what happens to Spock at the end. Like, he literally gives his life because that's the most logical and good thing he could do. Because
Right.
true logic asks the question, what's the best? That's what true philosophy is. Not about winning an argument. True logic is about trying to find the truth. What's real, right? What matters? And that's Spock's role in the movie.
And what I loved about that scene, one was, as we were watching it this time, I was like, oh my gosh, as they are talking in the very beginning, you can see Kirk's reflection in the mirror behind Spock.
So good.
And you see, as they say at the end, like, you see Kirk, it wasn't, I mean, he might have been hiding a little bit, but at the same time, he's like, Spock, you are my friend. I don't want to take this from you, even though I could by, article so-and-so -2, I can,
Good.
You say, hey, I'm going to take over because that's standard protocol. He doesn't want to do that to his friend. And conversely, Spock is, I am your friend. And I will speak truth to you. And then he says, here's why you should take this. And there's a bunch of logical reasons why, because Kirk's an experienced battle commander. Spock it seems like does not have that experience. And, according to the article, like, Spock knows why. He doesn't have the ego, but Jim approaches it as if it was him. If I was captain, I would fight tooth and nail to keep the admiral from taking over.
I'd find a loophole.
Right. Because he cheats death.
He cheats death.
And death is for Kirk in this scenario, in this movie, death is stepping away from the helm. It's leaving the starship. It's leaving space, the final frontier.
Mm-hmm.
That is what death is to him. And that's how he becomes a dusty old relic sitting on a wall, useless.
Right. Well, and just assuming the best from Kirk, he also doesn't want to risk his friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He doesn't want to risk this friendship. I mean,
Right.
even though he doesn't say it that, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if it really, because he's thinking in the back of his mind, if it gets serious, I'll take command.
Right.
I'll take it. But I'm not going to take it. But Spock gives it willingly and then does the most logical thing too. He assures his friend, this isn't going to hurt our relationship.
Yeah.
Now think about how that seems emotional, but it's not fully. It's logical. You were concerned that this is going to affect our relationship. I'm telling you, it's not. We're good.
We're good. Yeah.
We're good. And he means it. And he knows Spock doesn't lie.
Right.
Right? Isn't it important to have friends we know they don't lie? We can say a lot about this dude, but he doesn't lie to me.
What is it? Wounds from a friend are better than kisses from an enemy.
There you go. So these two scenes are the two sides, the two best friends for Kirk, both telling him the same thing that he needs to learn through this experience. And it goes to the heart of the movie, which is, how do you win in a no-win situation? Is you give your life for the best. You give because you're gonna have to give your life anyway.
Right. You're going to die anyway.
You're gonna die anyway. The way to win is to give it for what's the best.
Hmm.
And with that in mind, with the living taking note, that changes how you live in the moment. That changes how you live. And people don't know this about Star Trek, but Vulcans live longer than humans. Like, if you don't know this about Star Trek, like, Vulcans live a long time. They live longer than humans, right? And so, but even Spock has this sort of mentality. This is what's best for the situation right here.
Right. And we see, because and I can't remember if we talked about it yet here as we've recorded, but this idea that Khan and Kirk are two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Driven by passion, ingenuity. The term you used was they're tricksters.
They're tricksters.
But Khan doesn't listen. Like, he has his I guess it's his son or his sidekick or whatever. After he's like, we have a ship. We have the Genesis program. We can leave. We got off the planet. We've succeeded. We've won. And Khan is so just filled with rage and fury, jealousy, envy, the need to feel superior, to beat Kirk, the pride, that he doesn't listen. He's like, no, we've got to kill Kirk. I've got to destroy Kirk.
Mm.
And in a lot of ways, he does. Because he blames Kirk for his wife's death. And it's because of Khan that Spock will die.
Right.
All right, we're going to put a pause in at this point of our conversation before we really transition into the death of Spock and what Kirk faces as Kirk faces his real no-win situation. But this episode really set the foundation for it. The foundation of two friends who act as lenses for Kirk, with Bones and with Spock. And we'll talk more about this in the next episode, about how they sort of shape how he sees the world. And I think the most important thing to remember is death is not the end. Whether it's the death of a friend or a husband or a father, death of a dream, death of a job, death of a relationship, nothing is ever lost in the kingdom currency. And so over the months that I've had to sit with Jeremy's absence from my life, it's felt sort of like when you're making bread and you have to knead the yeast through the dough. And I've been kneading it and working it into my life and into my heart so that I can talk about him now without automatically tearing up most of the time. But I miss him. And I know Amanda and the girls miss him. So once again, I want to ask for your support for Amanda Ross and their daughters. Again, go to pioneers.org, click the donate button, and in the comments, put Amanda Ross. Again, QR code, and the link is in the show notes. Throughout the Bible, God has a distinct affection for the fatherless and the widowed. And in this holiday season, this time of giving that we tend to think of it as, this time of family, Jeremy's absence is going to feel most acute as they go through this first season without him. And financial contributions aren't going to bring him back. It's not going to make him feel closer, but it's going to allow Amanda and the girls to have one less thing to stress about. And I think Jesus knew a little something about being fatherless. I think that there's a reason we don't hear about the carpenter Joseph anymore after the early days. Why else would God continually point out taking care of the fatherless and the widowed? And my guess is that Jesus experienced it. He saw Mary widowed, and he felt the gap and the absence of Joseph after he died. Again, my conjecture, there's no theological proof to this, but what I see, it's consistent with what I see in the rest of the Bible. So take care this year of the fatherless and the widowed. I prefer to give our donations to people with faces. because there's more of a connection. I could give to a big nameless organization and a sum of money, and it gets lost somewhere in the big whirlpool of funds and nonprofits and all that. Or you can give directly to organizations and people that you know, people that matter, people with faces. And that's just one reason that I am committed to helping Amanda and the girls as they deal with life with Jeremy's absence. Again, because I know that the grief that I feel on a daily basis is but a shadow and an echo of his absence in their life. There's not a day I wish I could hear his voice. And if I feel that, how much more deeply they must. Go to pioneers.org, click the donate button, and put Amanda Ross in the comments. And know that anything that you give towards the kingdom is never truly lost. And it is but the genesis of a new beginning. So this has been Paul McDonald and Britt Mooney talking about Wrath of Khan. More to come. The conclusion of our conversation comes next week. Didn't want to torture you with an hour and 45-minute conversation, so we broke it up. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join us next time here on the Men at the Movies podcast.
Something inside has been awakened. I can no longer be who I was before. But if I am no longer who I was, who am I to be?